Let me tell you about my best friend. She's a woman.
This is episode 3 of the John and Johnny podcast featuring your co-host, Johnny. Today's episode was all about sales and becoming the best salesman you can be, experiences, what it takes, some knowledge-based information, some nuggets that you can take home. I gotta be honest, this was my favorite episode to date. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the John and Johnny podcast. Cheers.
Just saying.
Okay, let's kick this
Just saying.
Sales 101 episode off by asking you the question, if you remember, what was your first ever real sales experience?
First real sales experience, I would say was, well, you know, it's funny. I break that out into two categories, okay? Selling real means making something, I guess, of a profit, right? I'm selling. I'm making money. Okay. Well, I did that as early as high school. I did that as, you know, later in a more serious play in college. But as a professional, where I was actually working for a company, it would be my first real job, which was working for Colgate-Palmolive as a salesperson. Well,
before we get there, let's go back, and that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
So you're in high school.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first experience with selling? Were you selling something?
I sold T-shirts.
T-shirts.
Yep.
And who were you selling T-shirts to?
To my friends, to kids on my team, kids on my team, high school. You know, we had a football team, and they wanted to up our swag, so to speak. You know, back when I played sports, there was no booster clubs that bought you all the other accessories, right? They didn't fundraise for the purpose of saying, let's give them all this nice stuff. It just didn't happen. They fundraised, but for different purposes. So anyway, we wanted to up our swag. So I, at the time, went to a friend who had a T-shirt company. I promoted and came up with an idea, and we sold the T-shirts to the kids on the team. Made a few bucks, put everybody in the same uniform of swag, and it was fun.
So you took the bull by the horns here and said, I want to sell this. Now,
bull by the horn, another very
but that's an easy
good
one to understand.
Yeah.
You're taking the challenge head on and saying, I want to deal with it.
Exactly.
So let me ask you something. The money obviously wasn't big in selling T-shirts. Probably made a couple bucks here and there.
Yeah.
Did you feel more satisfied when you made an individual sale, or did you feel more satisfied that you were helping your team?
Yeah, exactly. Fulfilling the purpose and the need at the time far surpassed any dollar or two you're going to make on a sale of a T-shirt. It wasn't about that. Okay. It was really about just filling the void, and in this case, bringing the uniformity together of, you know, the guys. And so, yeah,
sure, that was a satisfaction.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, how did it feel to make your first real sale?
It's invigorating. You're either wired for sales or you're not. You either find satisfaction and a rush from connecting the dots, which ends up being a sale, or you're not. You know, there's a lot of people that just don't find comfort in that. They get awkward about it, or they're embarrassed about it, you know?
Well, I'll counter what you just said by saying I don't think that's true. I don't think that I think everybody's wired for it. I think everybody's wired to enjoy that feeling. The difference is people let the fear of selling get in the way. If you were to say to somebody, hey, look, I can make you feel the way sales makes me feel, everybody would take that. The problem is they don't know or think that they can do what a salesman does.
Yeah, but I think everybody enjoys singing too. And you're in the car singing, and you think you're not a good singer. So I like the feeling. Well, I like the feeling of it, but I'm not a good singer. So what am I really accomplishing?
My point is that I think that's the whole thing. Is like, if people think that you're either wired to be a salesman or not, I think there is, to an extent, it can be taught, and it comes. And this is why we're asking you the question. I think it comes down to like you had the self-confidence in high school to say I can sell, but if you were born with that confidence or not, I think once you establish that and understand how to sell, you could do it.
Right. Well, we are all put on a road, whether it's someone who pushes you there and says, stay here, and kind of coaches you up, or you just find it. And, you know, sales, it is something no different than what I just said to you. You're born to sell. You're wired to sell. You engage. You're wired to sing because you know how to sing. It's a passion. It's something that burns inside of you. You enjoy the feeling you get going to the gym and the endorphins that kick in and when you run. Well, you either are wired for that or you're not. I mean, right? If you, no matter how
wired
much
to do it. Or
yeah, you're wired to do it or not. If I said to you, let's go for a 5-mile run, you'd be like, no, I'm not doing it. Not that, because it doesn't maybe kick in for you that way, right?
Okay, so let's take that same example. Do you think you could make a salesman out of anybody that wants to do it? You don't think so?
I think you can coach anyone up. I think you can help them understand. But again, it goes back to it's got to be something that you're passionate about, and you can't teach the passion. Can you teach the skill set? Can you break it down and say to somebody, all right, when you talk to somebody, you need to have an opening, a selling, and a closing phase. You have those 3 components, you have a successful sale. Sure, I can map it out. We could write it up on a whiteboard. We could talk about it in a classroom setting. But they have to be comfortable with that, right? They have to be comfortable with the putting themselves out there a little bit and getting smashed in the face with, no,
yeah,
I'm not buying what you're selling.
Well, what's the one way to get comfortable doing that?
It's keep doing it, repetition, right. time over task.
Yeah. So you think so that my question is revolving around, obviously you've picked up on different traits that make a great salesman versus an average or poor salesman. Have you ever gone to a class or a seminar or read a book? Like, where did you learn how to become a salesman?
All right. The best way to, I think, learn it is by being in an environment with other people that are good at it, right? So when you're in a shop and a male, female, senior savvy person, rookie, hot stud, whoever it is, has demonstrated their ability and way to do it, you're going to gravitate towards that. You're going to try some of the things that they're going to try. And so the workshop mentality really helps the sales culture. There's a lot to be said about, hunting in herds, right? You could be a lone wolf and you could hunt and kill and do your thing. Okay, that's good. But when you hunt in the pack, now you're a lot more effective. So when the other guys and girls around you are sometimes sometimes you're the stronger one and you go out in the front, and sometimes you're in the back because strategically you're the wolf that's going to close it in. And if you ever look deeply into that, this is an analogy, that's a real scenario. That's how a wolf pack exists. There's different roles. There's different places in time that their effectiveness is going to come into play, and each person's going to, or each, in that example again, you step up and you change and you define your role differently.
Interesting. I think that's an interesting point because a lot of people see sales as very individual. You're hunting, you have to beat out not only other companies, but other people within your company. That you have to be the top salesman.
Right.
But you're saying that it's more of a pack mentality, that what you can do,
I think
others is far greater than what you can do yourself.
If you put 10 great salespeople in front of me, and truth be told, we be sincere with one another and we don't try to sell one another, right? There's always those egomaniacs out there that think they're the best of the best of the best. And, they invented how to sell. Okay, let's peel it back and let's rewind the clock and let's talk about their skill set from here and then where it's evolved to there. If you talk to a reasonable salesperson, a professional salesperson, someone who's got accountability, they will tell you they learned the craft by watching someone else. They will tell you they're influenced by someone else or other people or their surroundings. Sometimes even a company, I worked for Colgate-Palmolive. I was in a professional training world. They brought to light things that I would have never, ever been able to experience on my own. I wasn't going to find it in a book. I wasn't going to find it in, the field of, the retail world. I only found it in that classroom setting, in the workshops of trying it and role playing, right? And videoing yourself and seeing, oh my gosh, my posture's terrible. That's a big one. That's a huge one. People underestimate the power of really making yourself vulnerable.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. No, you brought up the egomaniac that's always trying to point towards that he was the one or she was the one to recreate, reinvent
Right.
selling. And that being said, there has to be somebody that's done it, right? Because that's how evolution
it.
starts. But
Yeah.
is there anybody in your life, whether you knew them personally or not, that
Yeah.
really stood out to you as like, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy, that's the
Phil
OG?
Marola.
Who's that?
It was probably one of the best, if not the best, salespeople. But with that, and he's passed away since. He was one of my mentors, and he took sales to an entirely different level for me. So what I once thought was a cookie cutter way of selling, he broke it out and just was like, balls out. This is what you do. This is where you can go. This is the limitless places you can go find yourself. And he made it such that I said, wow, okay, yeah, I understand that now. So when you find that one person that is selling without any real care,
Yeah.
there's freedom in that.
So you think the fact that you said his name is Phil?
Yeah.
I think you're saying that the reason why Phil was so good is because he sort of accept failure and didn't necessarily care about it. He didn't let it stop him, and I think that's probably
He was invincible.
Right.
He was invincible. He could sell anything, anything you put in front of him.
Because he didn't care about failing, and if he failed,
I don't think he thought about it. I mean, and truth is, I don't think about it either. I'm not worried about it. Failure's really not the option. It's just sometimes one of those things that gets in your way, and you got to go over it, through it, around it, under it. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect you at the end of the day.
Now, so you said Phil was your mentor. Did you ever have somebody, again, we're talking about examples or individuals that stood out to you that really stopped you in your tracks and pointed you in the right direction? Said, hey, look, what you're doing right now is not working. You have to do this instead. Was anybody that honest with you?
No, quite the opposite. I think at a younger age, for me, people knew I had it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, playing kick the can. That's an old game back on the block. Yeah. So back to when if I'm fair about what was critiqued about me in a professional setting, when I said to you, I would sit down and role play. I could take anyone who professes to be the best salesperson and put them against me head to head. They're not going to be comfortable. The best salesperson, because it's the uncertainty and the respect, right? So that doesn't mean they won't be effective, but when we role play, some guys are right in it and they're good with it, and then other guys kind of get affected by the pressure of, well, what's he looking for? Why is he asking me that? He's not being really easy on me, and so the role play is one exercise. The other is role play with a camera, so that then you see mannerisms. You see
that's big.
You see gestures. You can attest to body language. All of that factors in so well to an effective sale, and those were some of I think the key variables when I was really trying to polish and hone in on the skill of bringing the best presentation forward.
So different than somebody critiquing you, they're kind of just doubling down and reinstating what you're doing right. And then you kind of just learn.
There's always more positive. There should be always more positive takeaways.
Well, not always. If you're a shitty salesman.
Well, if you're cut out for it, you're going to be resilient, and you're going to demonstrate that through your exercise. It goes back to the whole boss and leadership thing. If you know the guys that are out there pushing and selling now, that they're just great salesmen, and you got to do it this way, and you got to be tough, and you got to be quick and witty. And now here comes Tino. Oh gosh, Tino's back.
Can you hear him?
Tino, you want to go out?
I'll just pause. All right, so you're talking about the salesmen that claim they're great and they're quick and witty.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there's the stereotypical salesperson that's quick, witty, always has an answer for something, and flash in the pan. I mean, that's one style, but truth is, I think that there's a lot more balance that needs to be in place, and so it always has to begin with sincerity, right? You have to like what you do. You have to have a passion for what you do, and with that, you need to be resilient and committed to the direction that you're going to go in. When we sit down and we do these exercises, role playing or otherwise, there's positives that are going to be taken out from that, right? This is no different than if I'm a high school football coach and I think I get best results by beating somebody down. Now, if he's a good football player, I should be able to beat him down and then build him back up, right?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. And so there's other guys that'll take that same player or players and just have a different style about them. And so it's the influence of how that leadership versus a boss, it always comes back to that.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest issue with blueprinting how to be a salesman. Especially, I'm at the age right now where everybody tries to appear as way more professional as they are, right? So I see it countless of times, and I'm a victim of it as well. Like, you see people that are well experienced, and you try to say literally what they just said, but it doesn't sound the same coming out of your mouth because you don't have the experience, you don't have the knowledge to say what they're saying, and you look phony. And so now when somebody presses you on what you just said, you don't have anything to back it up. And that's an issue. So I think sales should really come down to understanding what the experts are saying, but being you. Like you said, be truly sincere and understand that where you're at now doesn't have to be where you're at in the future.
Okay, so let's say, see this cork?
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to do the old here. Sell me this cork. Just sell me the cork.
You got a wine bottle with no cork?
I don't have any wine bottles.
All right, then you don't need this.
Well, okay.
You're not in the industry that I'm looking to sell.
No, here. Okay, so hold on. Make me buy the cork.
If you don't need a wine cork, I'm not going to try to sell you a wine cork.
Make me buy the cork. You have
to
sell
don't
me
need a
this
wine
cork.
cork, there's only one purpose for a wine cork.
Okay, hold on.
It's the cork bottle.
Give it to me. I'm going to sell you the wine cork.
All right, sell me the wine cork.
Give me a cork. Do you need? Hi. Do you need a wine cork for your bottles?
I don't have any bottles.
Okay, so let me explain something about this wine cork.
Okay.
You look at it one way, and its purpose is clear. It's typically put into a bottle to cork wine. Yes? Okay. What if I told you this has another function? What if I told you that this is going to cost you nothing because I'm going to get you all these wine corks, but when we put these corks together and form them in such that we're going to take several of them and glue them and put them down like this and make a nice pad, right? A nice blotter of sorts to display some of the things that you want. You're going to purchase that because that has another value for you. So would you be open to just the consideration if I demonstrated to you more than one way to utilize this cork?
Okay, that was a good example from a seasoned vet. Now I have a question. I do have a question.
So hold on, stop right there.
Okay,
I want to stop.
Right,
I want to stop because it's not so much that was, oh wow, that was a creative way of selling a wine cork. That may not even be effective, or it may not be relative to somebody. The point is, I meant that. Like, that, sincerely, I know I could put these corks together. I can make a hot plate out of that. I can make a wall art out of this. I can make the back of a dartboard with all these corks. And I could put them all in there, and you can put your dartboard in the middle. And now it has another function. So some people see that as, well, that's only just for the top of a one. No, it's not. There's so many other things you could do with this. And that's the truth. Right? So you're going to listen to that, or at least consider that.
No, that was good example and good.
That was unscripted, by the way.
Yeah, totally unscripted.
It was, right?
It was.
Yeah.
My question to you, because this is a good point you brought up here, in sales, and I guess this is like a good, nugget for them to take. In sales, how much time are you spending on somebody that seems very uninterested in what you're selling? Like,
very little time.
If you're selling apples and somebody says, I don't like apples,
then
you're over it.
You got to move on. Let's just move on.
Right. So you don't want to waste time.
No, let's not invest time. It's not even wasting time. Let's just not invest time in one another. You need to do what you're destined to do, and it's probably not selling corks.
But at the same time, if there is an opportunity to reinvent what you're selling, like you just mentioned, you might as well take that. Like I think people put way too much emphasis on don't waste your time and energy on somebody that's not going to buy. That extra 30 seconds that you took to say to me, hey, you may want this as a wall mural, that could result in a sale. And you're not going to lose anything even if I said no after that.
That's it. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That was good.
Huh. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. I wanted to talk about, so I guess, like you mentioned, the biggest, I guess, teacher is just doing it, right? Like you, since high school, you've been trying to sell something. If you could give a couple pointers, things that are tangible that somebody can, after this podcast, take away and learn from, what would those be?
Okay. Practical, real application. Practical, real application, meaning forget being a salesperson and putting a sales hat on. Just forget that for a second, right? If you have a genuine interest in talking with people and engaging in people, and you're comfortable walking into a room and knowing that you bring value to the room just because you're in the room, that doesn't mean you're the life of the party. It's just you're comfortable. You should find that place from which to begin, which is, I belong here. You know, when you know what that is, then you can build on that. So too often, your generation sees and wants to grab a piece of the pie, and they associate the pie as being, materialistic things, right? Sure. Cars, houses, clothes, all these things. Okay, yeah, that comes with it. That's motivation, and you should aspire to have the house, the clothes, the cars, if that's what you want. If you see people who have beautiful families, you should aspire to have a beautiful family. You see people that have a wonderful experience with a lot of friends. You aspire to go get whatever the heck it is you want out there. It's obtainable. And you need to be reasonable with yourself, though. So how do I go get that? Yes, it starts with step one. All right, so I want that car. I'm going to work my butt off in the job that I'm already in. Not in some miraculous miracle spot somewhere else, because it's not there. No one's going to offer me a $100,000 a year salary tomorrow and then, now I'm going to get the car. No, I'm making $25,000 a year, which is a fact, working for a company that's a very conservative company and a modest pay scale. Yet I'm going to get that car. I don't know exactly how I'm going to get it, but I'm going to work and save and set as a milestone and a goal for myself to get that. And then all of a sudden, we talked about it before. Well, I get introduced to another business line, which was the mortgage industry. And so I take that up, and then all of a sudden things start clicking along. And again, you put your head down and pedal, and sometimes, then you pull up and you're like, oh, I'm over the finish line. It was hard pumping uphill, but I just pedal.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to get off track about the sales topic, but I think the goal setting topic is another good one. We may have to do an entire podcast about that, but
it's very important.
I'll attest to being, it's interesting. I never knew that story that you told me, but I will attest to being 12 years old and waiting because mom said, hey, look out the window, and waiting for you to pull up in your red SL500 and revving that fucker to hear, the sound of a nice car. And that was the first time for me. I was like, at 12 years old, that is cool. I didn't know the concept of money or even nice cars, but I knew that was something that I loved seeing for you and something that I loved or aspired to have when I was married. So I think that's really an interesting or a proud moment because, like you said, money, you're always chasing it. And from a standpoint of being happy or feeling purpose, you're never going to get there if it's just based upon money. So setting goals is a great way to feel like I've done something. Right.
And your goals, again, they can be whatever you set as a reasonable goal for yourself. Sure. And, there's stretch goals, right? There's goals that you say, I'm going to be this or I'm going to do that. Okay, well, shoot for it. Go for it. And if you miss because you're stretched, you still ended up better because you were reaching for the higher goal. And so before you know it, you ended up in a spot that you were never probably realistically going to get to anyway, but you got there. Right?
So I think we hit on two good takeaways. Is number one, learning how to become and feel confident, I guess, in your own skin when you walk in a room. That's the first part of sales, is understanding that I can walk into a room and own it. Nobody cares about you, right? Nobody cares enough to say, who's that guy? I don't like him. No. So walk in a room with some confidence and understand that, like, you are who you think you are.
Well, listen, so sales, separate from sales, people in general, we should all be comfortable with ourselves. Everyone brings something to the table. And it's just a matter of time and in the manner in which it comes out. So there's a lot of successful people that can't walk into a room. They just don't like the way that feels. Yet their success comes in the form of sales somehow, right? Maybe they're just behind a computer all day. Maybe they never have to interact with people the same way, face to face. I'm not just saying that that's the only successful salesperson. There's a lot of successful salespeople that have navigated through certain challenges and they've made it, right? So, but they're comfortable behind a terminal, right? So knock yourself out, go after it, accomplish it, burn the midnight oil and work, there's 24 hours a day. How many times I hear very successful people say they only sleep 3 hours a day. I can't sleep I can't only get 3 hours sleep a day. It just doesn't, it's not again, how I function.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean the effectiveness of the 10, 12, 14 hours I may put in are any different, right? Just because you work 20 hours a day and you sleep 4, okay, well, maybe I can work 12 as efficiently as you work your 20.
Yeah. What are you really doing when you say you're working?
What are you doing, right? It goes back to you a hamster on a wheel, or there's action, there's movement with action.
Okay, so I think good takeaways are, number one, be confident in your skin and who you are as a person and as a salesman.
Just as a person first.
Right,
yeah.
Because that's, again, there's no blueprint that's going to work exactly for you. You got to find that yourself.
Right.
2 is goal setting. Set a goal and then achieve that goal, because purpose is what's going to keep you moving, right? You felt that sensation of, oh my God, I did it. I want to keep moving forward.
Purpose, process, payout. Have a purpose, work your process, and there's your payout. I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, that's your purpose. Now, what's your process? I'm going to eat cheeseburgers every day. No, that's not going to work. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to cut out this. I'm going to add that. I'm going to be more responsible for myself. I'm going to stop eating at a certain time. I'm going to do fasting. Okay, that's your process. Your payout is, I lost 2 pounds in one day. Great. Another payout. Yeah. Do it again. Reset to zero. Reset to zero. Yeah. Do it again.
Goes back to the goal setting. You set your goal and you're achieving them every single day. Right. So those are 2 good points. I think third one you mentioned was this practice, but practice with a purpose, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of selling is extremely uncomfortable for everybody. I don't care who you are. So whether it's, I've always done it where, like, if I have to practice for a pitch to an investor, or I'm trying to sell something, I want to do that to somebody that I am the most uncomfortable in front of. And that person, if you guys couldn't guess, would be my own dad. I cannot pitch in front of anybody worse than I pitch in front of him. It's just it just happens every single time. So what I'll do is I will pitch in front of him, I'll blow it, I'll hate myself for the entire night, but then I'll reverse that the next day with pitching where I'm the most comfortable. And I think a lot of people can relate, where either you're practicing your sales pitch or whatever it may be, go into your car. And for whatever reason, I think people feel very enclosed and comfortable when they're driving, because they're distracted by doing something, but it's not that hard that they can still focus on what they're doing in terms of selling. So take both sides of things. Go to somebody that is the hardest to pitch in front of, and then take yourself back into an environment that you feel very comfortable. And now you're going to understand, okay, I can do it. I'm letting my own self and my own mind get in the way of me doing what I can do.
You have to be uncomfortable before you get comfortable.
Right.
Guys, the reality is, I recall in what was really probably one of the peaks of my selling career, they asked me to do a presentation and said, hey, and it was very just, hey, why don't you do this today in front of 200 people, which was my peers. And I knew my content cold, but I wasn't prepared. And I knew I wasn't prepared because they just asked me to talk about something. Yeah. And I literally had to get up on a stage and talk about a subject matter that I knew cold, but I wasn't sure what I was going to say. And I was like a deer in headlights. I almost couldn't do it. And I never felt that way. I didn't feel that way often, although truth is, I have felt that way before. Everyone has moments of question. Everyone has moments of meltdowns. Everyone has those mental, psychological things that we play in our own minds. Like you're playing, you can't pitch to me. Well, come on. Why can't you pitch to me? Because you can't sell a cork to me? Okay. You'll work on that. You'll get better at that. And wherever you need to go to do that, it's part of the process. Yeah, you need to be uncomfortable before you get comfortable. And when you replay in your head, if you're in your car or you're in your shower or you lay in a room quietly by yourself and you think about how your day went and what you can do better tomorrow, which is another valuable key thing. You have to remember that as bad as your day was today, you have an opportunity. Everyone has the opportunity to start and finish how they want. You start your day, you control how you wake up. You finish and you control how you end. Everything in between is sometimes a firestorm and you don't control. And people can be jerks and influences of other things that go on. You're not going to change. So don't sweat it. Just know tomorrow you have a chance to start over. You have a chance to make better than you did the day before. And sometimes, we forget that. And we also forget, and this is something that personally helps me, life is going to go on with or without us, right? With or without me. This is not me being end all be all. Life evolves and changes at a moment's notice. So don't take yourself so seriously that you need to stay up all night worrying about what someone said about you or whether you blew the sale or whether your boss likes you or whether you just check it. Just pump the brakes, keep it in perspective. You can control what the next day brings and what you do with that. And you're never stuck. Some of the most successful people, irregardless of what money they make, have been resilient. They've been homeless and they found a way to make better for themselves and their family. How does that happen? How do, singers, Shania Twain, I think is one. I think she's lived out of her car for years, just practicing and playing. There's plenty of street performers, right, in that industry alone. How do they do that? They're resilient. They're passionate. They love what they do. They have a dream. They have a vision, and they keep at it. And they you have to start with the right attitude every day. Otherwise, you won't go anywhere, right?
Yeah. Resilience. Another takeaway. Just keep going.
Another takeaway. My gosh, where are these all coming from? Where's the book? Where's
the
book?
law of averages. Just keep swinging.
Right.
It's
bad.
People measure the number of hits you have, not how many swings you took. So
you fail 70% of the time,
you're still a good.
And you're a 300 hitter. That's a great hitter.
Baseball's a good.
And I'll tell you what, that's probably in part for me where I learned that statistics don't lie, math doesn't lie, and in baseball that's what happens. You fail 75% of the time. And you could still be effective. That one time you come up, guys are on base, the game's on the line, you're great. You could be 100 average baseball hitter, but you hit the winning run to win the game, great.
Yeah, and I think different than baseball and life, once you have that winning hit, it's rare you go back to
But you know what it feels like.
Because you know what it feels like to win. So you, for example, you felt that shitty feeling of, oh my God, I'm nervous. I don't know what to say. I'm going to fail. And you bomb. Okay, you bombed. Who gives a shit, like you said.
Right.
Once you succeed and nail a pitch, the odds of you going back to feeling struck or stuck when you're on stage is very rare.
Right.
You felt that feeling already. You know what it's like. So, I think another thing that I like to think about when I'm on stage or whatever it is, everybody in that audience, nobody wants to see you suck. Right. I don't care if your worst enemy is out there.
Sure.
The open feeling of awkwardness when somebody on stage is bombing affects everybody, and nobody wants that. So think of it like everybody is on your side at that point, and that makes public speaking or selling. Even if you're trying to sell somebody, that person that you're selling, they don't want you to be super fucking awkward and nervous. It doesn't make anybody feel good.
Well, let's put it this way: you and others like you that have wrestled, that can go out on a mat naked. With basically you're naked. If you can do that, if you could step out there one-on-one with somebody, what can't you do? I mean, seriously, you're gonna be embarrassed, or you're gonna embarrass somebody. You got a 50% chance. And maybe as you were of the better skill set because you're better practice, your percentages are greater, right? You're a better wrestler, so your percentages increase, and you're not going to be embarrassed. But everybody at one point or another, you're the lamb or you're the lion. And we know that, right? That's what athletics teaches you. And in this case, especially in the sport of wrestling, man, that's a huge, huge respect for guys that do that, or even girls. Anyone who's ever stepped out one-on-one and had an encounter that moment of anxiousness and uncertainty, and it's there. Now you got to forge through it. Yeah. You can do anything. Well, keep moving forward. Right.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Again, great takeaways, and I hope you guys can take some of this and learn from it and apply it to your life. One thing, one more takeaway I want to hit on is, what did you tell me to do with my toes right before a big
I told
speech?
You clean up your room.
No.
Take out the garbage.
Nope. Nothing to do with my toes.
I told you, please turn the lights off because it costs money.
Nope.
I told you.
Not that one.
Oh, right. Yeah. So one of the things that I learned.
Right. Give him one more little nugget.
One little nugget.
One more nugget, guys. Thank you for all staying here
there's
this long.
Always a moment in any scenario where you kind of you say something that you know is not right, or you say something that you're not quite sure how it's going to be perceived, and it's uncomfortable, and you said it, so the words already came out. Now, if you let your body language take over, you might put your hand on your head. You might be like, "Oh God, what the hell? Why did I just do that?" Squeeze your toes. Squeeze your toes in your shoes. No one can see it, but squeeze your toes. Tighten your stomach.
How many of you are squeezing your toes right now?
Try to squeeze your toes. Now, as that's a muscle memory thing. That is something that's a mechanism to help relieve stress of that moment. And when you're selling, and when you know in the sales moment that, oh boy, this is not going well, but I got to stand my ground. I got to hold. I already said it, so I got to hold firm on it and wait. You squeeze your toes, you squeeze your stomach, you clench your fist, you do whatever you could do, any part of your body muscle that doesn't show because it's hidden. Try that, and you'll find that to be a great way of a mechanism of dealing with that uncomfortableness in that moment. Even if you go up to a bar and you're a girl and you talk to a girl and you say to a girl something, you're like, is she going to buy this or not? You wouldn't want to show her your game face, the face that you just blew it. Just be patient. Let's let it play out a little bit, right?
Ladies, don't look at the man's toes when he's trying to pick you up.
Yeah, never. Oh, if you have sandals on, you're screwed.
Don't be looking at the toes.
So don't wear sandals.
Don't be looking
when you're trying to go.
No, this was awesome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for staying with us. As always, we appreciate you. If you want to help us out, this is a free podcast. Obviously, all we ask for is that you share and send it to your friends, your family, whoever it may be, somebody that you think would benefit from this. We're going to keep churning out this content, hopefully once a week. If you guys have any suggestions on what you guys want to hear or see, feel free to comment or reach out to us. We are happy to answer. But that is it for this week.
What do you want to say at the end of each? What do we do at the end of each podcast?
I'm good today.
What do we say at the end of each podcast? It's kind of been like our signature sign-off.
We've only had 3, so I don't know how signature it could be.
People, what do you want to say?
Right, we'll say it at the same time. We'll say it at the same time.
Say, I love you, Dad.
We're going to say it at the same time.
Ready? Love you, Dad.
On 3, we're going to say it.
What?
1, 2, 3. I love you.
Dad.
You have to say it too.
Yeah.
Tell your parents, tell your kids you love them.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love you, Dad.
All right. Woo, we are making
Tell
progress.
your loved ones that you love them. That is the last message today. We are out today, guys. Thank you very much. We will see you soon.
Cheers. See you guys.
People let me tell you about my best friend.